Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. Today is the day after Christmas, and I hope and pray that every one of you had as wonderful a Christmas as I did. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good time. Kids were acting like crazy animals, as we would expect them to, and the whole thing was just a whole lot of fun. But I'm very excited about getting into this flight today. Feel like I'm just a little bit behind. This is like my 6th attempt to record just this intro, and this will be our 2nd attempt for this flight. And I'll explain why probably here in a minute. But let's take a real quick look at what we got going on today. You can see that today's duty day has 4 flights. Now, when I do a duty day that has 3 flights, it's like a 2.5, 3 hour video. In fact, I think they got over 3 hours. And many of you have been very supportive. You know, I even mentioned, hey, I don't even know if you guys are watching this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. You guys were very supportive, said, yeah, hey, we watch your whole video, and I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. It really does. But those are getting a little lengthy, and while we will have some videos and sometimes live streams and stuff that will be really long like that, I'm going to try and make an attempt to shorten these up just a little bit. And I think the best way to do that with 4 flights in a duty day, and you can see, well, you can't see on this graphic, but that's actually going to happen 3 times during this duty week. I'm going to split the duty day into 2 separate videos. So we'll do 2 flights in this video, we'll do 2 flights in the next video, and that'll shorten it up just a little bit. We're still accomplishing the same thing. I think that's probably the best way to go on this. So you can see that today, or for this video anyway, we're going to be out and back to KMDW. That's going to be our flight, and we'll take a look at the flight plan and all that good stuff here in a little bit. Now, as far as this challenge is concerned, I was actually on the verge of calling it quits on this thing because there's absolutely no way we are going to be able to complete this. It's just not going to happen. It's almost the end of December. We're barely getting started on week 2. There's no way we're going to finish it. So I was going to say, you know what? We've done a lot of these 737 flights. Maybe maybe folks would like to see, a different aircraft, see some flights, maybe the FS Labs aircraft again and stuff like that. And then I started, I got some comments from you guys here, like these here, saying that you really enjoy this this series. So you know what? I'm going to press on with it. I'm going to press on, and what I may do, depending on how the reaction is I may go ahead and complete the entire challenge, even if I don't come close to getting it done in time, which I won't. With all of that being said, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the founders for putting this challenge together. I think this thing is absolutely awesome. It's a lot of fun. I wish that I had enough time to do all the flights, because I think that would be fantastic. But I made a promise when I started the Captain Mac channel to you guys that I would not do a Captain Mac flight without recording it, and I have not done that yet, and I'm not going to start doing that now. So we may complete the challenge even if it takes us all the way into like April or something. So you guys let me know what your thoughts are on that. If you'd like to see the challenge flown all the way through all 6 weeks, that'd be a lot of PMDG flights, or if you'd like to see us just go up until the challenge ends, which is January, I think 17th they extended it to, not sure. And then we take our licks there and we say, okay, well, this is what we got done, and then we press on. You guys let me know. All of that being said, a couple of surprises today. Surprise number 1, excuse me, my nose is a little stuffy again. Surprise number 1, for those of you who actually paid attention to the title, we are going to be flying this flight today with FS2Crew. That's right. Wow, another plane must have just started up. FS2Crew. Hopefully that's not too loud. We've got, here it is right here. Here's the secondary panel. Here's the primary panel. You can see I undocked them so I can have them off to the side over here. And I've got it muted so that they don't do anything without me, because I've struggled with this a little bit. And that, hopefully that's not getting too loud there. Let me let him go by. All right, he seems to have cleared out. That is the reason that this is actually our 2nd attempt at this flight, because I struggled with FS2Crew, and I probably will struggle with it a bit today as well because I'm not used to it. So I'm going to ask that you bear with me, and I want to remind you that this is in no way intended to be a tutorial on how to use FS2Crew. I got a lot to learn about it yet, but I've got it in there, and I'd like to put it to use. And it was your guys' suggestion. It was on sale. I managed to pull some I managed to pull some pennies out of the couch cushions, and I purchased it. So thank you all for the suggestion. It is a lot of fun to fly with, but it takes a lot of getting used to because I'm used to doing everything myself. So that being said, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. The first flight, the first time I did this flight, ACARS crashed anyway, so the PIREP wouldn't file. So that was actually a good thing because literally at 500 feet, landing at KMDW, we were at 500 feet, and for some reason the first officer raised the flaps. I don't know if it was something I said, but there you have it. So, yeah. I need to figure out, I set a hard mute button, but I don't remember which button it was. Maybe it was this one? No, this one? No. Which button did I set as the... I'm trying to remember now which button I set as the mute button. So that you can mute and unmute it. See, that turns the thing on, and that's all well and good. I tried to set a button on here on my yoke, and that didn't work. So you can see it's muted right now, and so I'll have to use my mouse to unmute it. And the only downside of that is if I forget or something like that, it's just kind of, you know, it's taking some getting used to, and I'll have to figure out why I can't get the button to work on my yoke, because that would be a lot easier. I could just click the button to mute it and unmute it and give commands and so on. But anyway, so that's surprise number one. So you know, that's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of laughs, probably a lot of frustrations. It is what it is, right? But surprise number two. Bam! Look at that. Many of you may recall that I put out a repaint challenge, and I asked for a Captain Mac repaint of the 737-800. And 3 of you submitted. 2 of them I was able to look at. 1 of them, for whatever reason, I was unable to get it to load into the sim. I sent you an email saying, hey, this won't load in the sim. I'm not sure why. Can you take a look and see what's going on? Never heard back from you. But this is the repaint that I decided is the best one. It's fantastic. And this comes to us courtesy of, and now I'm going to try not to butcher your name, my friend, but I probably will. Emmanuel Pacamalan. Amazing job on this repaint. And let's take a quick look here. And if we zoom in, you will see, first and foremost, let's just start right here at the tail. This thing is really cool. I like the way you came up with this. I've actually been trying to come up with like a professional looking Captain Mac insignia, if you will. And you put that up there, and I'm telling you, if you don't have a problem with it, I'm going to steal it because that is really cool. That was clever, very inventive, and I really like it. You can see that he changed the tail number to CPTMC, which is Captain Mac, of course. We've got the American flag on there. Now, I will say this, the American flag is pointed the wrong direction on here. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying the American flag is pointing the wrong direction. The stripes always go opposite the direction of travel. So I believe I have that correct. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But look at this. He took all of my, or maybe not all, but a large number of the thumbnails from my videos and put them on here. So you see all these different thumbnails. Looks really cool. I like it, and I like the way they fade into the front of the aircraft here. Really fantastic. We got Captain Mac, nice and big letters on there. That's fantastic. And then one of the requirements was that we had a representation of a wide variety of airlines. It didn't have to be all the airlines, just a wide variety of them, because flying for Phoenix Virtual Airways, we'll fly a lot of different airlines. Well, check this out. He put all these tails on here. And that looks really cool. I like the way he did that. So you got Aeromexico, there's Alaska Airways, you got a couple different Virgin, that's, I think, Virgin America there, and there's, what's the Australian airline? I can't think of it off the top of my head. There's American, All Nippon Airways, Hawaiian Airlines, and so on. And I think that looks really, really cool. I think the only thing I would have liked to have seen a little different here, and again, not criticizing, just talking about it, because I think this paint scheme is just awesome, would have been a tail with national cargo on there. Just because we do fly for national too, right? So that would have been really cool to see that on there. And then maybe one with the PVA logo on it would have been really cool too. Those are the only 2 I would have liked to have seen added. But again, not a criticism, just an observation, just talking about what I'm seeing here. We've got the initial success or total failure logo up here. All of you see that as my watermark over here. I've had that for quite some time. I changed it at one point and switched back. For those of you who don't know, this is not something I came up with. This is the motto, if you will, of military bomb squads. and that's what I did in the military, and it's something that I'm very proud of, and I have a lot of good friends who still do it, and so that's why I fly that logo there. So looks really good. I mean, just all around, this is really awesome. Now, that being said, here's what I thought about. You know, we're going to fly a lot of 737 flights over the years, and I'd like to have a 700 and a 900 version. And so what I was thinking is, let's go ahead and issue another challenge out there, and this one will run through the end of January, for a 700 and a 900 repaint, because some of you may want to get into this now. Every time I fly a 737-800, this is going to be the paint scheme I'm going to fly, and Emmanuel is going to be credited every single one of those flights, because I really appreciate you taking the time to do this repaint, and I want to fly it. It's beautiful. You did an amazing job on it. So I'd like to have a 700 and a 900 as well, that so we can represent both of those aircraft, and hopefully have a couple other of my subscribers who did repaints, you know, recognized in those flights. And also, it's I prefer to fly the right airframe when I can, and I'm sure that you guys do too. So that's what I'd like to do. So my repaint challenge is for the 700 and 900 variant of the PMDG 737. And my requirements all remain the same. It must have a wide variety of airlines represented, and it must look cool. That's basically what it comes down to. And this one definitely does that. Now, I would like to say this. I think that if you're going to... I think the best way to represent a wide variety of airlines is like Emmanuel did here. So I'd like to see some more of that. But I'm not putting that as a limitation on you. The limitations are that it has to look good, and it must represent a wide variety of airlines. It must be a PMDG 737-700 or 900. Let's extend that challenge out there, and I would love to see that, guys. I'd really appreciate it if you would take a little bit of time and put together some more repaints. I can do repaints. I just don't have the time, because I know they take a lot of effort, and there was a lot of effort that was put into this repaint by Emmanuel Pacamilan, and I thank you, sir, for the effort that you put into this. Enough said about that. Let's hop onto the flight deck here. Now, I have no idea why it sounds like the aircraft is running, because it certainly is not. But it sounds like it's running right now. So I've had it do this to me a couple times. Not really sure what's going on. But now we're going to jump into FS2Crew. I've already got A-cards running. I think we've covered A-cards about 1 billion different times. So I will occasionally still show you how to do A-cards, but I'm not going to show it on every single flight anymore. So A-cards is already up and running. It shows us boarding. Park and brake is set just for good measure. So as you can see here, for pre-flight events, shows time remaining to departure 25 minutes. That's actually a lot less time than I normally take. So this is going to go a little quicker, and that's part of the reason I kind of struggle a little bit, because I'm just used to doing everything my way. So at 25 minutes, we're going to start this. The jetway should be connected. All the doors should be opened up, all of that good stuff. And we could probably even throw GSX in there, have them start loading. The only issue is having them load, and then FS2Crew will do a load also, so you'll like hear a double loading, and it's a little weird. At 24 minutes, because we're cold and dark, the first officer is actually going to do the power up. Now, the last time I tried to do this, I connected ground power, and he didn't do the electrical power up. I didn't turn it on, I just connected it, but it kind of messed it up. So I'm not going to do that this time. Oh, look, I just noticed he even did the plate in here. Fantastic job, man. That's awesome. So once I get this started at 24 minutes, when this thing here says 24 minutes, the first officer is going to turn on the battery. He's going to ground power is not going to be available, so he's going to start the APU, do the fire test, configure the fuel pumps, all of that good stuff. He's going to take care of that. So you're going to see him doing that, and we're not going to be doing anything. We're going to be just sitting here staring at this thing, right? But at 23 minutes, excuse me, we need to do our preliminary pre-flight procedure, okay? And for us, that's going to be aligning the IRS, doing the flight recorder test, voice recorder switch, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of stuff we're going to do. Now, I'm going to pop up the same checklist I've always used. I might change these eventually, but there is a little bit of difference between these and what we normally use, and that's because, A, some of the stuff either wasn't on my checklist, so I just wasn't doing it, which is kind of sad, or B, it's different because some of it's stuff I'm doing and some of it's stuff the first officer's doing. You get where I'm coming from? Okay, so let me get my brain together here. I was thinking about trying to set up that, if I go into config here, I think it's under miscellaneous. No, you know what? It's not. I'm supposed to set, it's actually in the settings. Never mind. If I want to set a key for the hard mute to mute and unmute, you do that in the settings for you know, buttons and switches and all that stuff for FSX. I'm not going to mess with that right now. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off. You're going to hear the first officer talking here in just a second. Oh, wrong button.
Let's get set up.
Okay, so I'm muted, so you can't hear me right now. And at the moment, you hear the bell. Okay, so he's opening doors. He's getting the front left door was already open. The jetway's coming over. All of that stuff's happening automatically. Now we know the jetways don't move on this scenery, which is a shame. Let me move this out of the way. But there you see power just came onto the aircraft. See, he's starting to power up the aircraft already. All right. So the screen's got a little power to him. He turned the battery on. He's going through what he needs to do, and I'm going to let him do that for a second. I'm going to darken these screens because I don't like them being really like bluish looking like that. That just looks weird to me. So you can see he's already bringing power on the aircraft. What else is he? There's his fire test. And I've got the sound turned up a little bit. When I did that PMDG MD11 tutorial, you couldn't hear the airplane hardly at all, which was really weird. And I don't know if it's because I didn't have the sound turned up very far or what. But while he's doing that, because I'm going to forget otherwise, stop it. I forgot to press record. Oh, that got rid of that extra sound. That's nice. Okay, so he's still going through all this. Now, you can see he's got the APU. No, he hadn't turned it on yet. Why hasn't he started the APU yet? He should have everything done. The only thing he hasn't done is started the APU yet, it looks like. Oh, now it's up and running, see? So he started the APU. He's still going through his thing. There's going to be things that we're not going to do because he's doing them. So, okay, so he's going through that. We're at the point now, we're almost at the 23-minute mark. We need to do our preliminary pre-flight procedure. So the first thing we need to do is the IRSs. Okay, and that's actually all the way up top here. We need to make sure they're off, and then after 30 seconds, we can turn them on. Well, they've been off for more than that. So switch them to nav, okay? And then I'm going to make a little note here. IRS comment is what I'm going to write here, because there was a discussion in the comments about aligning the IRS from the nav position. There's the more fire test. And I was saying, no, you know what, that's great, all well and good. I'm going to align them from the aligned position. Well,
Not for the walk around.
Okay. That's me talking to him. I talked to my friend who's a 737 training captain for one of the major airlines, and he said they always align in the nav mode. So that's where we're going to be. Flight recorder test comes next. That's all the way up top here as well. To test it, right click, and then left click the little switch there. That goes off. That light goes off. That means it's good, right? See those blinking? That means it's ready to align already. So real quick, we'll hop down here and clear these off real quick. Go into FMC, position initialization. Nav data is not out of date. Somebody mentioned why that might be doing that, but I forget what they said, to be honest with you. And there we go. IRS alignment is already complete, just like that. Okay. Voice recorder switch needs to be normal, and I believe that one's right here. Voice recorder, yeah. So I don't think you can actually do anything with this. I don't know what it means by normal. Service interphone switch needs to be off. That's all the way up top. That's this one here, and it is off. Engine panel set. We're good on that. Let's see. Mach overspeed test. That's actually back up top. Mach overspeed is these two. There's one. There's two. And then the stall warning test. It's not working right now, right? Okay, that doesn't mean it's not working. Okay. It requires AC transfer buses to be powered up for up to 4 minutes. All right. So it says you may wish to delay running the FS2Crew pre-flight events by 4 minutes to account for this condition. Basically, we're going to have to come back and do that stall warning test. Hopefully I won't forget. Because we're not going to stop what we're doing now. We're going to press on ahead. All right. Set the parking brake. There's a good old-fashioned Cat Mac cough for you. Park and brake is already set. We're good on that. And then copy the ATIS. So let's pop it up real quick because he's still doing his walk around. So this acts as our ATIS. I could do the verbal, the voice, whatever, but I'm not going to do it. So 212 degrees magnetic at 9 knots, which is about what I have written down. It was 10 knots when I wrote it down. 3006 on the altimeter. So we're going to be good to go on that. We're going to want to remember that. Get back there. Now, he got to his walk around a little quicker than normal, but it's going to be a couple minutes before he gets back. The flight attendant here shortly is going to ask if she can start boarding, and we're going to need to respond either yes, please, go for it, or okay. So that's kind of what we're waiting on at the moment, is for her to ask if it's okay to start boarding, which is going to be done here shortly. Once she does that, about a minute later, the FO will be back from his walk around, and he'll start his pre-flight and CDU pre-flight. Excuse me, and we'll start our pre-flight. And our pre-flight, my nose itches, and these allergies are killing me, guys. And we're going to have a bunch of stuff to do on our pre-flight while he's doing his stuff. We'll have the master lights test and a bunch of other stuff going on. In the meantime, excuse me, we're literally just waiting for the flight attendant.
Hi, here are some water bottles for you. The security and safety checks are complete. Are we okay to start boarding?
Yes, please.
Thanks. Clear to board.
Okay, so you have to respond with the proper phrases. Now, here's a little thing I learned. If you forget or you don't know what they said or they're not recognizing the phrase that you're saying, then you can always say set and checked no matter what it is, and they'll move on with the checklist. So that's good. All right, so we're not going to wait for him to get back. We're going to jump into our pre-flight procedure. We need to do the master lights test and dim switch test. And I believe those are up top here. This is the dim. No, it's not. It's not. I remember I couldn't find this before. It's right here. So right click, it goes up. That's the master lights. You see everything lighting up down here, right? All of this stuff. And everything on the overhead is lit up. Okay, that's the master lights test. And then the dim switch test, we'll left click once and then twice.
Back from the walk around, everything looks good.
Okay, we don't need to respond to him on that, I don't think. No, he goes right into his pre-flight procedure, but I might need to say that to him. No, he should go right into it. Let me say it anyway. Let's take care of the pre-flight procedure. Okay, no response from him means that he's already doing it. So his pre-flight procedure is going to involve turning on the yaw damper, nav display panel set, fuel panel set, electrical panel set, fire detection test if not completed, emergency exit lights armed, window heat on, probe heat off, hydraulic panel, all of that stuff. So he's doing all that stuff up here. So you can see the yaw damper's on now. Window heat is on now, so he's doing that, and that's what we want him to do. We need to continue with our pre-flight. We've done the master lights and dim switch test. It's on dim right now. We'll right-click and put it on normal. We need to set the minimums. We need to set the minimum selector to barrel. That's this guy right here. It's already on barrel, so we're good on that. We need to set our barometric pressure setting, which we said was 3006. So let's scroll this up. He'll set his own. Oh, that was way too high. It looks like it set his too, so that's fine. He won't have to mess with it. And then we need to set the MCP. Now we're going to be able to go straight up to 29,000. It does say to set this to 4,900 until you get your airway clearance. But I learned that when he sets up the pressurization panel here, see, he's got it set for 10,600 because we had it on 10,000 already. So now we have to change this. That's one little I would say a glitch almost in this FS2Crew is he sets this on whatever's set on that MCP, and the only problem with that is for us to set it up higher, we don't do that until typically later on, right? So there should be something where he comes back and sets, or where he sets this to the proper altitude. That's what it should be. But it is what it is. And then what else we got here? Oxygen tested and set. You just heard him test his. Tested and set. So we're gonna. I think you push that button to set it. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Flight and standby instruments checked. Those are good. Parking brake is set. We don't need to set nav radios. Audio control panel. We're not going to do anything with that right now. Trims checked, free, and set to 0. Excuse me. They're not at 0, but they're good. And then verify flight plan. So we're going to do flight plan right now because we still need to do our CDU setup, right? So let's go into route. Let me pop this up. Because if I move that, it might mess him up. Okay, so company route is going to be KSTL. You notice I'm kind of rushed. This is quicker than I normally go. To KMDW and 01. That's our company route. There she is. We'll activate it. Execute. The flight number today is... we are flight number 1074. You can see he's doing his stuff too. Okay, and one thing I need to do, we haven't done this yet, is we need to go and take care of fuel. Now, I know I normally do this differently. I have fuel before I start boarding anything, but he's got the APU running. I want to go ahead and get the fuel set up. We're supposed to be at 11,604. We're going to set it an extra 100 pounds for the extra time burning the APU. So 11,704 is what I'm going to put in. Okay. That adjusts our fuel, so we're good on that now. Let's go back over and continue setting up our FMC. 0 fuel weight, click it once, click it twice, and there you have it. Reserves are going to be 6,000, not 2,000. And our cost index, as usual, is going to be 85. Cruise altitude today is flight level 290. There we go. Execute that. We got plenty of runway to work with, so we're going to derate number 2, and we're going to climb... we're going to do a normal climb because it's not a very long flight. I want to make sure we get up there quick. We probably don't need it, but that's what I'm going to do. Takeoff page, flaps are going to be 5. This is another discussion I've had on the comments. And let me write this here because I want to make sure I pop that up there. And I'll forget if I don't write it down. So there's the comment pop-up. Click on the center of gravity once, click it again, and it gives you your center of gravity and your trims. Let's shrink that down. Let's take care of those real quick. So trims need to be at 5.28, and they are currently at 4.0. I'm just going to scroll this. You can use the mouse wheel to scroll it like I'm doing right now. See what that put us at. 5.23. Wrong way. There we go. 5.29. Going to be close enough. There you go. You get 2 coughs in a row. All right, so we're good on that. Now we need to go right into our departure. And we are going to be flying the Cards 9 departure. And due to the wind, we're going to be taking runway, let me pop it up over here. It is runway 24. So Cards 9 off of 24 and transition at SPI. There we go, and you'll get all that during our departure brief. Back to the route and takeoff page, and that's going to put us at 133, 134, and 142. Fantastic. What else we got to do here? We're all set up on the CDU now. We verified flight plan. First officer is doing everything that he's got to do. Auto brakes should be done. See the auto brakes on RTO. Cargo fire test is done. Weather radar control panel, transponder control panel. All of that stuff is things that he's done. I'm going to change the transponder code. Now, I don't see anybody doing a TCAS test, so I'm going to do TCAS test here. And we're at the 12-minute mark. So at the 11-minute mark or later, which is going to be here shortly, we need to do the pre-flight checklist. And we'll tell him to do that here shortly. And then we're going to have to do some responses on this. So... In fact, it says 11 minutes or later, and I think that's a timing issue. So there's a couple more things we still haven't set up. We want to set this to our V2, which was 142. Flight directors need to come on. I think those come on a little bit later, but I'm going to turn them on now anyway. And that's pretty much it. We're at the 11-minute mark. So let's go ahead and take care of the pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist, please.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested, 100%.
Tested, 100%. Navigation transfer and display switches. Normal, auto. Window heat, on. Pressurization mode selector, auto. Flight instruments.
Heading 249, altimeter 3006.
Heading 249, altimeter 3006. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
So there you go. That's our pre-flight checklist. You can see that we do it together. I really like that actually, but you have to make sure you say the right things. And so I have to actually have this thing, the paper sitting next to me to remind me what to say and when to say it. So at 10 minutes, we would get our airway clearance using ATC. We're not doing that right now, but I do want to get into ATC here pretty soon. And then at 9 minutes, we're going to run the departure brief. Now, here's the deal with the departure briefing, and I'll take advantage of this extra minute here. So there's going to be 2 departure briefings for our flights now. This is going to be the departure briefing for FS2Crew, and then we're going to have our departure briefing with our chart. And it's going to be the same for the approach briefing. We'll have our FS2Crew approach briefing, which covers a lot of information we don't normally cover, and then we'll have our approach briefing with our approach plate. So we're going to have 2 of those from now on anytime we're flying the PMDG 737. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, there you go. Something to keep in mind. So this is all the information that's going to be covered during the departure brief. And this is what the captain's going to brief to the first officer and then ask him if he has any questions. We just hit the 9-minute mark, so let's go ahead and take care of this.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be a standard pushback and start off from the gate. Taxi route will be assigned by ATC. It'll be a left seat takeoff using rated thrust. Planning a 5-5 takeoff. Anti-ice will be off. In the event of a malfunction prior to V1, I will either call reject or continue. Standard low-speed reject procedures below 80 knots. Between 80 knots and V1, I will only conduct a high-speed reject in the case of an engine fire or failure, predictive wind shear warning, or if there's any condition that makes the aircraft unable or unsafe to take into the air. I will simultaneously close the thrust levers, disconnect the auto throttle, apply maximum manual braking or verify the operation of the RTO auto brake, apply maximum reverse thrust, verifying the extension of the speed brake and bring the aircraft to a complete stop and set the parking brake. We will then run the appropriate checklist and evaluate our options. If you could monitor my actions and make the standard reject takeoff calls, including any abnormalities that you observe before advising ATC. For V1, or if the call is to continue, I will continue the takeoff as per standard company procedures. We will climb to the minimum sector altitude and track clear of local terrain. We are under our maximum landing weight, so we are okay to make an immediate return. All going well, the departure routing will be via the ATC assigned SID, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. No noise abatement procedures required. Flight directors are on. Mine is master, yours is slave. Navigation radios are set. The NOTAMs and aircraft defect log have been reviewed. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
None.
Departure brief complete.
Okay, so there's your departure briefing from the captain, the first officer. We're at the 8-minute mark. When we hit the 7-minute mark, we should receive a load sheet. We need to respond thanks or thank you for the load sheet when it arrives. And now it says if we get it in person instead of ACARS, we should be getting it in person. Because ACARS is not hooked up through the PMDG. So, well, not whoops, but so we should. Here it is.
Here's the load sheet for you.
Thanks. Well, I guess he doesn't respond. Okay, at 6 minutes that the APU is not running, the FO should ask us if we want him to start the APU. If he asks, we'll tell him go ahead, but he shouldn't because the APU is already running. Okay. CDU at the 5-minute mark, because the CDU pre-flight is already done, we would review the load sheet, which of course we've already done that. We have our flight plan and load sheet. And then arm LNAV and VNAV as required. And we're not expecting vectors, so we can actually have him do that. And I'm trying to remember what the phrase is. There's like a whole list of phrases that goes with this. But let's see if I can just get him to arm it. Arm LNAV. Engage LNAV.
LNAV.
Engage VNAV.
VNAV.
So as you can see, the LNAV didn't arm. That's okay, but he did push the button. I don't know if you saw, but he definitely pushed the button. And we've had that before, and it's because of where our first waypoint is in relation to the runway. So And yeah, we're like doing an immediate left turn on takeoff and then out to Tui. So, but we'll get all of that stuff briefed. Let's see what else. There's nothing else for us to actually do at the moment. That's the flip side. Sometimes you're rushing, and sometimes it feels like you're just kind of sitting around waiting. We're at the 6-minute mark right now. He did not ask us to start the APU, which he shouldn't have. We don't need to update the FMC. We're good to go on that. At the 3-minute mark, cargo doors are going to close. At the 1-minute mark is when boarding will be complete. The FA will, the flight attendant will notify us. Excuse me. And she'll, let's see, she'll notify us. Oh my God, I got hiccups now. Goodness. She'll notify us that the cabin's ready, and she'll ask if she can close the cockpit door. I just dropped my pen too. I'm a soup sandwich. Hopefully I won't make a disaster out of this. We need to make sure we respond to her. We can say thanks. Thanks, it'll be a short taxi. Thanks, it'll be a long taxi. Cleared to close short taxi, or cleared to close long taxi. Any one of those commands, which is actually quite a few. It allows you to speak a little more freely, I guess. It's not so robotic, and I like that. We're going to be a pretty long taxi, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm actually going to go ahead and at the 1-minute mark, we'll get set up for pushback as well. We're not going to do the pressurizing the hydraulics because that's an automatic thing anyway. But you can ask the ground crew if it's okay to pressurize the hydraulics. We're not going to do that. And then the next thing we'll be doing once we hit the 0-minute mark, which is about 4 minutes from now, we'll do our before start procedure. So our before start procedure for the captain is we'll select the takeoff page on the CDU. Okay. Actually, I guess I'm just going to hold off a minute because as soon as we're done with that, we'll be pushing back and we'll do our before start checklist at that point. Now I'm muted, so, but I do believe we need to, we need to say before start procedure for the first officer to do his portion of the before start procedure. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for just a minute here because we got like 3 minutes left before anything else happens, and I don't see the point in having 3 minutes of nothing.
Hi, the passengers are seated.
Thanks. It'll be a long taxi.
Thanks. See you out there.
All right, so she's closing everything up. She's going to make sure everything's secured. That's the 1-minute mark, obviously. Again, we're not going to talk to ground about pressurizing hydraulics. We're just going to go ahead and let all that happen normally. Now, as we get to the 0-minute mark here, and we want to do our before start procedures, I'm going to go ahead and fire up GSX, and we're going to be going nose right, tail left. And they should remove chocks and everything. Let's just make sure they did. Yep, see, they did that for us. All right, and that puts us to our 0 mark on pre-flight events. So, before start procedure.
Check.
All right, so he's going through his before start procedure. We need to select the takeoff page on the CDU, which we've done down here. Flight deck windows need to be locked. We never opened it, so it should be good to go. We don't need to obtain pressure or clearance to pressurize the hydraulics. That'll be done automatically. Takeoff trim, rudder trim, and aileron trim are all set. And then the first officer needs to make sure the flight deck door is closed and locked. Select the legs page on the CDU, which he's done over here, you can see. Exterior doors verify closed. Flight deck window is locked. Fuel panel is set. Hydraulic panel is set. Anti-collision light on. And lower DU, this one, to engine. So he's done all of that. So we're going to release the parking brakes and go right into our before start checklist. Before start checklist, please.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. MCP.
V3.0. Heading 243. Altitude flight level 290.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 133, V rotate or VR 134, V2 142. Checked and set. Set and checked.
CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, so I had to do the checked and set because he wasn't recognizing what I was saying. So now we're pushing back, so we carry on from here. Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting 2.
So he's doing the start procedure on the engine, but we'll need to introduce fuel. So when we hit 25 on the N2, just like always, we'll introduce fuel to the engine. So basically, we've covered all the things that we do on a start, and I think I'm going to do a full flight tutorial on the NGX just because I've never done one. Even though our flights, hold on, there's 25 there. Let's bring in the fuel. Even though our flights, in a sense, are a tutorial, but excuse me, because we're using FS2Crew now, there's a lot of things we don't do. So some of you who may be jumping in later in the series like this and seeing us doing the startup, you're like, well, wait a minute, what did he do to start the engines? Because I don't have FS2Crew. So we'll take care of that. Let's see, we've done departure briefing. So we're good to go on that. What else we got? That's pretty much it. We're just waiting for the engine to stabilize, and once it does, we'll have him start number 1. Okay, the starter cutout is what he just said, and that lets us know that this guy up here has gone back to the off position. So now we can have him start number 1. Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
She's going to go into her brief, which means you'll no longer get the brief from my wife. Some of you are probably sad about that. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. Yeah, we're not doing a cross bleed start. We could have him isolate a pack, but it's not hot out, so it's not really going to matter. Okay, what else we got here? Next is going to be our before taxi procedure. He'll tell us when the... Oh, I need to introduce fuel, don't I? See, this is what happens. I get sidetracked. Our before taxi procedure will be command the FO to set the takeoff flap after he sets the engine start switches to continuous, and then perform the flight controls check. Okay? So, we need to get set up for the flight controls check. We're waiting for the starter cutout now.
Starter cutout.
There it is. Okay, you see he turned the CDU page off. We need to turn it back on. Okay. And set flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Okay, let's go full left. You can see down here on the lower display unit. Full right. Neutral. Full up. Full down. Neutral. And then below that is actually the rudders. Full left. Full right. And neutral. So we're good to go on that. Now we need to let him know. Flight controls check complete. Okay, so he's doing his before taxi procedure now. Okay, we've done ours. Let's see. We've done all of that. Oh, we're supposed to actually say it to him, but okay, well, noted. Okay, and then next will be the before taxi checklist. Let's see. Let's check the recall real quick. He should turn the taxi light on. And runway turn-off lights, blah, blah, blah. He does all of that, so we should be ready to go. So this thing tells me now that he's ready for the before taxi checklist. When this is in orange, that means he's doing something. All right? Before taxi checklist, please.
Before taxi checklist. Generators. On. Probe E. On. Anti-ice. Off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Continuous. Recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake. RTO, engine start levers,
idle detent,
flight controls,
checked,
ground equipment,
clear.
clear. Before taxi checklist complete.
All right, so that means we're ready to taxi out. As we start to taxi, we'll let him know we're clear on the left. He'll tell us that we're clear on the right. We've already got the flaps set. So the next thing we'll do with him will be as we're approaching the runway. But I need to get my track IR turned on and all of that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video here for just a second. We'll be right back. It won't take long for you to take a minute for me. And then we'll start taxiing out and take care of briefing our departure plate and our taxi. Alright, so we got everything rocking and rolling. We're ready to start taxiing out here, and then we can take care of our briefing our taxi and our departure plate. Track IR coming on, little jump here. There we go. And here we go. Clear on the left.
Clear right.
And off we go then. I had to mute that. I just want to make sure I didn't say anything I shouldn't say. Okay, so let's go right into your taxi brief and departure plate brief. Alright, so we're right in front of the tower here, and we're going to be taking runway 24 for our departure today. So we're going to need to we're basically right here, making an immediate right onto Papa. It kind of angles across runway 12 right and 30 left. And then follow Papa across 12 left, 30 right, all the way up to the end of runway 24. We don't have the RAS working yet, so we won't get runway announcements. Just something to keep in mind. I'll have to get that figured out. I don't know why it's not working. But ATIS is going to be on 125.025. We've already grabbed that. Tower, we're headed north, so 120.050. And let's take a look at our departure briefing. As we already mentioned, it's going to be the Cards 9 departure today. Our first waypoint technically is CSX, but we're taking off, and that's like right there. So hopefully we won't have any issues with that. But then we'll be swinging around all the way back here to TUI, following, and then from TUI, the 027 degree radial out here to SPI, or Spinner VOR, and that'll transition us off from there, and that's not going to take very long. So I need to make sure that I've set up the arrival for KMDW in here, because KMDW arrival starts at SPI. So departure frequency, it's going to be 119.150 for us, and when we do start using ATC, we'll have to note that we're crossing from Kansas City Center to Chicago Center almost immediately after SPI, so that's just something to keep in mind as well. But other than that, pretty straightforward on the departure, and I think we're good to go. So let's get her on going here. Before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 5, green light.
Stabilizer trim.
5.2 units.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Alright, so you heard us do our before takeoff checklist as we were taxiing in here. One thing I wasn't able to do because I'm doing the taxi and departure briefing during the taxi there is you can actually have the first officer verify that you're cleared to cross the runways. I didn't do that. What we're going to do next, though, is our before takeoff procedure, and what we're going to say to the FO is runway entry procedure or before takeoff procedure. It doesn't matter. We can say either one of those, and then we're supposed to take care of weather radar and the traffic on the nav display. So we need to make sure TCAS is on. He's going to announce to the cabin crew to take their seats. He's going to turn the strobe lights on, fixed landing lights on, any other lights that are required. He's supposed to put the transponder to TARA. So for us, we're literally just hitting the traffic button here, right? Okay. And then as we're doing all of that, we're going to pull onto the runway. And once we're ready to go on the runway, we will say takeoff as we start to spool up the engines. Okay, once the engine stabilizes at 40%, we'll hit the toga button, and then we need to say N1 toga. He'll call out 80 knots. We say checked, and then once he gives us positive rate, we'll say gear up. Okay, that's as long as we don't have to reject the takeoff. However, if we need to reject the takeoff, we'll say reject, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and that's dealing with FS2Crew. So I'm not going to say anything except what I need to say to him, because I won't have time to mute and unmute, and I don't want to mess around with that. So once we get into the climb mode, LNAV, we'll have him arm LNAV And let's see what else. And we'll tell him to set flaps up speed once we hit the acceleration height. And then we'll have him bring the flaps up as we go. And that'll take us into our after takeoff procedure. Okay? And so the after takeoff procedure, that's him doing it. Engine start switches need to go off unless the anti-ice is on. Runway turn-off lights and taxi lights will go off. Auto brake will go off. And gear will go off. And then we'll tell him after takeoff checklist. And he'll do the entire checklist on his own. Then he's going to ask us if we want to release the cabin. We'll say yes. And then we can have him select autopilot on. And once we get to that point, then I'll mute it again. And we can talk about where we're at and all of that good stuff. So I hope everybody's tracking on that. So you probably won't hear me say much between now and then except what I'm saying to him. So a little jump as track IR comes on here. There we go. And I've got my little thing right here. So let me unmute it and away we go. Before takeoff procedure.
Check. Cabin crew, take your seats.
Clear on the left.
Clear right. Ready to go.
Takeoff.
Check.
N1 toga.
Check. Thrust set. $80 knots.
Check.
Rotate. Pulse free.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Set flaps up speed. I'm hand flying right now too, so even though the flight director's telling me to go the other way. Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
After takeoff checklist, please.
Stand by.
After takeoff checklist, please.
After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds. On. Packs. Alto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No lights. After Takeoff checklist complete.
Track IR coming off. All right, now there's nothing else.
Release the cabin crew.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's really nothing else for him to do at the moment, or for us to do, until we reach that descent procedure, which is going to be a little ways off, obviously. I went in and turned the autopilot on. You can see, so there's a lot going on there. There's not really time for me to talk or anything like that. When we get above 10,000, he should turn off the landing lights. That's coming up right now. Let's make sure he does that. So there's 10,000 feet. There we go. He turns off the landing lights and all of that stuff. So he's doing everything that he's supposed to. I need to go ahead and make sure that we have the arrival set up in the FMC. I'm going to go ahead and do that with you guys on here, because I don't.
Release the cabin.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't think I've done that with you guys on here before. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So let's go back to our route page. No, actually we want departure arrival. I'm sorry. So KMDW arrival, and I think I closed that thing out already, didn't I? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Oops, sorry for the silence there. It's the Motive 5 arrival. So let's find that guy there. Oop, just passed it. Motive 5. We don't have a runway chosen yet, but we are coming in off of SPI. All right. So we'll execute that, and then if you go to our legs page, you can see now we go from SPI to Yuri to Pont to Motive, Monic, and then Jot. And then once I double check the weather, I'll put in the approach. Excuse me, I get the hiccups and everything. I'll put in the approach the same way I just did the arrival. I'll hit the departure arrival page, and off we go. So we're good to go on all that. Progress page for us, I think, is what we're supposed to be on. So we are good to go on this one. Up to cruise level we go. This is going to be a pretty short flight, so I need to make sure I got everything organized in my brain housing group so I don't mess anything up, especially with this FS2Crew. So I'm going to break away for now. Remember, the elevator music will come after the next departure, because we've got 2 flights for this video. So once we get to that, we'll take care of that. Otherwise, wow, look at our speed. What's going on with our speed here? We're supposed to be on VNAV. I wonder if he turned it off. Okay, yeah, our speed, look, we're below the flaps up speed. I wonder how that happened. See, some weird things happen occasionally with this FS2Crew. I don't know if that was something I did or what, but yeah, okay, so our speed definitely needs to get up, doesn't it? Wow, we're supposed to be at 319. Anyway, I'm going to break away for now. I will see you guys before top of descent. Alright, as you can see, we're not even quite to cruise altitude yet, but we've got about 80 nautical miles until top of descent already, and the descent procedure stuff has to take place. You're supposed to start at 150 nautical miles out, so we're going to start it right now. And what we're going to need to do is first, you set up the approach brief on here, and you do that by, you actually put these values in. They're in red initially. You type those values in down here, and then you select this line select key, and it tells you, and it puts it in there, and that's for the approach brief. Make sure all of this is set the way you want. We are going to be flying an RNAV approach. It's going to be a flaps 30 landing, all of that stuff. Check the next page. If you have weather, I have no idea what he just said. Oh, I think he just said we're almost to cruise altitude or something. But anyway, if you have any weather concerns or anything like that, you need to make sure you put those in there. We want him to start the APU after we land and so on. We're going to be playing that brief here in just a minute. But before we do that, we need to take care of our descent procedure. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell him, let's start setting up for the descent. We're going to do our thing, and I'll show you what we're doing. But what he's going to do is he's going to hit recall. He's going to select the VREF. He's going to set the decision altitude. It says not simulated due to SDK limits, so I guess he's not going to set that. He'll set the auto brake, and since it's an RNAV approach, he'll set up the VOR for updating off, whatever that actually means. I don't actually know. And then we'll do the FS2Crew approach brief, and then once we start the descent, we'll take care of our brief of the approach plate. Everybody tracking on that? Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this then. Let's start setting up for the descent.
Check.
Okay, so he's doing all the things I told you he was going to do. We need to set the minimums. They're at 200. We're going to be barrel. So let's make sure, boy, this thing is fickle, isn't it? Come on. What are we doing here? There we go. Set it to 200. There he's doing the recall right there, you can see. Okay, so minimums are set. Let's see. Oh, we need to verify that the transition level is correct in here. So if you go in here, go to the descent page, and then hit forecast and verify the transition level. So that'll change when we get across the pond. So that's good. And then we perform the approach brief once he's done. And it looks like he probably is. So let's go ahead and take care of this approach brief. All we do for this, go to next page, and then select play brief, okay?
Are you ready for the approach brief? Okay. The arrival routing will be via the ATC assigned star, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. For an RNM approach, planning a flaps 30 landing. VREM is 141. Final approach fixed altitude is 150 feet. Decision altitude is 200 feet. Missed approach altitude is 2600 feet. Taxi route in will be assigned by ATC. We'll be arriving at a gate. We'll use the APU, but please delay the start until my command has me on the long taxi. Descent speeds and navigation radios are set. Airport minimums have been reviewed. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Approach brief complete.
Okay, so that takes care of the approach brief as far as FS2Crew is concerned. Of course, we'll still have to do our approach brief the approach plate. The descent checklist needs to be done before we get below 10,000 feet, so we're not going to start that quite yet. We got all this done in time. As you can see here, I'll zoom this down just a little bit. We're still more than 40 nautical miles out from top of descent, so there's nothing else for us to do. I'm going to break away here in just a second. We'll go into the descent checklist after we start the descent. Let's see here. I'm just going through my pages and make sure I didn't miss anything. So everything's all set up, of course, except for the MCP, which is interesting because there's nothing in the descent procedure that tells us to change the MCP, the altitude right here. So we need to remember to do that. And then once we're on to the descent, I'll come back on. We'll do the descent checklist, and then we'll go into our approach briefing. And then I'm just trying to make sure we're ahead of ourselves a little bit. The approach checklist is very, very short. So once we get to that, we'll take care of the approach checklist, which is literally 2 items or 1 item. And then into the approach, we'll call for flaps from him. And let's see, we don't have localizer or glide slope, so we don't need to worry about that. Flaps are all him. Let's see what else. We're going to have to manually fly it. Landing checklist will come after that. And then hopefully he'll tell us that we're stable. It depends on how good my flying is. Let's see. That's pretty much it. We'll speak clear to land. I'll probably talk about more of this as we get down there. So again, still learning this a little bit, but definitely enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to this. So we'll see you back here once we're on the descent. Okay, we're into the descent now. I didn't think about it. I went ahead and did the descent checklist right before descent. I meant to actually do it after we started descending so you guys could hear it, but we'll get that on the next flight. It's not that big of a deal. What we need to do right now is we need to roll right into our approach plate briefing so that we know what's going on with that, and that way once we're on approach, we're rocking and rolling there. So let's go ahead and take care of that approach brief. Alright, so our approach today is going to be the RNAV 22 left approach into Midway. And we're going to start out here at TACT, 3,000 feet. We could start out at steer at or above 3,000. That's actually the initial approach fix. I'll take a look when I go to put it in the FMC. But then TACT 3,000 feet, sails at 3,000 feet, initial approach or initial fix. And then keel, it doesn't give us an altitude. Hanging on the left from there to 251 degrees to jib. Another left down to yacht, which is our final approach fix. 228 degrees into the runway from there. And at yacht, we need to be at 1,500 feet if you take a look at our profile view here. We've got 1,770 meters of runway, plenty to work with. Standard 3-degree glide slope with PAPI lights on the right-hand side. From yacht, descending down to the runway, unless, of course, we have to perform a missed approach, which, if we do, we'll climb at 228 degrees until we reach 1,300 feet, make a left turn direct to Eon, which is the Piotone VOR, and climb to 2,600. So we'll need to make sure all that's set up in the FMC, and we should be good to go. A little bit of cloud cover, but not too bad, so we should be good for this approach. ATIS is on 132.750, tower on 118.7, and ground on 121.650. Alright, as we're swinging around from steer here, we've reached that point where things are going to start getting really busy. I've already got the flaps set to 1. I'll use the first officer to do the rest. But as we come around here on the approach, we're going to do the approach checklist here shortly, which really is just making sure the altimeters are set. That just takes a second. And then as we go into the approach, I'll call out flaps to him. And then once we're all set and configured for landing, then I'll do the landing checklist. And let's see, we need to speak cleared when cleared to land. And at minimums, the pilot monitoring should speak approach lights. That's actually, we're going to go visual. So when we say visual, it says to say cancel the barrels or reset the barrels. So we'll go visual, we'll cancel the barrels, and then we'll have him cycle the flight directors and on from there. You'll see how it goes. I'm going to spend more time talking to him and less time talking to you guys, making sure I'm doing what I need to do, because the first time I tried to do this as a recording, it was an absolute disaster. Okay, so here we go. Let's roll into this. Approach checklist, please.
Altimeters.
2991 set.
2991 set. Approach checklist complete.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Okay, so there's not a lot else to do. What I'm going to do is leave the video to just continue recording, so if something comes up, it'll be on there. If not, I'll just remove the empty space. And that way that you're not just sitting here watching me fly without saying anything. We'll be coming up here pretty soon. I'll be disengaging autopilot. You can see we're going to swing it out here to tact and then hang that right we talked about down into here. So I'm going to try and pay attention to what I'm doing here so I don't make a mess of things. Flying into Midway, it gets ridiculously choppy. I don't know why. I've got AI traffic turned way down, all of that good stuff, but it still gets really choppy for some reason. So
Cabin crew, take your seats.
you can hear he's announcing the cabin crew to take their seats. That means we're set up for the landing. We're good to go. Obviously, we got a little ways to go yet. So I'm going to shut up with you guys and take care of what I need to do with him. Gear down, flaps 15.
Gear down. Flaps 15.
Flaps 25.
Flaps 25.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
Landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Double check that, please. Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 30. Green light.
Landing checklist complete.
Visual.
Check.
Cancel the barrels.
Check.
Cycle the flight directors.
Recycling flight directors.
Track IR coming on. You can see it's getting really, really choppy. It makes this landing pretty hard too. Cleared.
Check.
Okay, so there shouldn't really be anything else with him. I'm just trying to kind of fly and check my lists here. Set missed approach altitude.
1000. Go around thrust set. Missed approach altitude set.
I don't know what he meant by thrust set. Let's go ahead and turn that auto throttle off now. Landing.
Check.
Okay, so that means we should be good to go on everything as long as nothing gets messed up.
500. Stable.
Well, that's a relief. Okay, so we're looking good here. Let's listen to our call outs and then we'll have a couple things going on with our boy here once we land it.
100.
Floated it a little.
Speed brake not up. Reversers normal. Auto brake disarmed. $60 knots.
Roger. Checked. Sorry, I had to click over here real quick. Make sure I'm going the right direction here. Woo! That wasn't too bad. Let's get her off here. Okay, by me bringing the spoilers down, he already started doing his thing. I'll cover that here in just a sec. Let me bring it to a stop here. Alright, track IR coming off real quick. There's your little jump right there. Okay, I muted him so that I can make sure we're good to go here. Okay, so we did the speed brakes. He told us they weren't up. I don't know why they didn't deploy. I did arm them. Reverse was normal. He called the 60 knots. We said checked. We didn't say checked on auto brakes disarmed. That was my bad. You can see he brought the flaps up. I didn't do that. So after landing procedure, I can tell him okay to clean up. Now, he does that when I position the speed brakes down. So because I manually deployed the speed brakes, I put them back down. So he already did his after landing procedure. So for me, it's speed brake down, whether radar needs to go off, which I haven't done yet. And then he turns on, he won't turn on the APU yet. I don't think he has. No, I'll ask him to do that here in a second. Probe heat switches, he turned those off up there. You can see that. Lights, he turned off the appropriate lights and on the appropriate lights, except for some reason he leaves the runway turn off lights on. I don't understand that. Engine start switches, he turned those off, and so on. So you can see that he did all of that stuff, so we're good to go there. Let's see what else we need here. As we're getting ready to taxi in, I can have him turn on the APU. I'll do that in a second. And then just prior to turning into the gate, we'll tell him lights and doors. So what I'm going to do here, let me turn that thing off. Just want to make sure I know where I'm at. So we're going to take this taxiway here straight on into the terminal. So we're going to straight on down, and that's... I think, no, Yankee, this one here actually. So we'll bang a bit of a left here, and then we'll follow that straight into the terminal there. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll do the same thing. If I got something to say, it'll be on there. If not, I'll fast forward the video. Track IR coming on real quick. There we go, little jump. Okay, here we go. Clear left.
Clear right. 3 minutes.
Start the APU.
Starting APU.
I have no idea what the 3-minute call is all about. Confirm clear to cross runway 13 left.
Affirm. Cleared to cross.
Lights and doors.
Check. Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check. Doors disarmed, APU on the bus.
Okay. Alright, so I've gone ahead and muted him for a second. We're going to go right into our shutdown procedure here in just a moment, which he should start as soon as I shut down the engines. I'm not going to tell him to do it. I'm going to do it myself. Let's bring this to a stop here. There we go. Track IR coming off. Little jump here. Okay, so APU's already running, so let's shut down the engines. 2 then 1, I believe, is the way you're supposed to do it. Okay, those are coming down already. Let's see. That's good, that's good. Taxi lights are already off, so he should have already started his shutdown procedure, which is APU or GPU, seatbelts off, anti-collision lights off, all that stuff. Let's see if he's done that. I don't think he has. Nope, because those are still on. Let's see if we can get him to do it. Let's put the parking brake on. And let's make sure I got everything right here. Shutdown procedure. It actually looks like he's already doing it. See, it's right here. Shutdown procedure. Yeah, so he just hadn't gotten to that yet. That's why what I looked at wasn't done. Like, there's the lights coming off. There's the jetway coming over. He'll be opening the doors. All of that good stuff he's taking care of. So what we need to do is set the parking brake. We did that. Engine start levers cut off. We did that. Flight directors off. We had him cycle them, not turn them off. So those are off now. Let me get my pages in order here so I don't make too much of a disaster. Now when he's done, then we'll go into the shutdown checklist, and he's still working on that. So while he's doing that, the engines are shut off. We shrink that down. Let's go ahead and shut down our A cars because our flight is done. So we've ended A cars. File the PIREP. There we go. And then I'll close this out, and it'll be ready to go on the next one. So there you have it. That basically concludes the first flight. We do need to do our shutdown checklist, of course. Let's see. If you want to make a second flight, you do not need to reload the aircraft. Instead, press the down arrow button on the FS2Crew main panel. Skip over the secure checklist. Okay, yeah, so we're not going to secure the aircraft, but we will do the shutdown. So we'll skip the secure checklist, and you'll be returned to the pre-flight checklist. So he's done with his shutdown. Let's take care of the shutdown checklist real quick. Shutdown checklist, please.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps, off. Probe heat, off. Hydraulic panel, set. Flaps.
Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers,
Cut off.
weather radar,
Off.
off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Okay, so we're all shut down at this point now, so that we don't have, instead of securing it, what we'll do is we'll skip down, skip this checklist, and go right to the pre-flight checklist. And if you unlock the cockpit door via the knob on the center console, you can hear the sound of the passengers deplaning. So if we do this right here, where's it at? Flight deck door unlocked. There you go. So you can hear the passengers getting off the plane. We're set. FS2Crew is ready to go. That's going to complete flight number 1 for this this duty day. And you can see that he's opened the cargo doors. The chocks are installed. All of that stuff. The APU's still running, and we're going to leave that running. We'll go ahead and just burn up a little bit of that fuel. That'll be fine. But that's going to conclude this flight. I'm going to get things ready for the next flight. Let the passengers finish deboarding, then we'll jump back in here and we'll continue with our FS2Crew adventure. Alright, I've had my opportunity to make a bathroom break, get something to drink. Doesn't mean I won't cough in your face some more, but there you have it. So we're about ready to flip this thing around here. The one downside I found is when you open that cockpit door, or the flight deck door, the passenger unloading just keeps repeating. So it's been about 20 minutes since I actually ended the flight. And you can hear there in the background there's still people getting off the plane. And then you'll hear a little tiny pause at some point and it'll start over again. So hopefully that'll stop once we get into our pre-flight events here, which we're going to kick off right now. So secondary panels popped up. You get that just by clicking on secondary right here. That pops up that panel right there. Push the PF button, that's pre-flight events, and let's go ahead and kick this off.
Okay, on to the next sector.
Alright, so we're rolling right into that. It sounds like the deboarding is done. Now, he's not going to have to do the power-up supplementary procedure because there's already power on the aircraft. So what we need to do, though, is apparently we need to realign the IRS. I don't know why we need to do that. Let's see. Captain should perform the preliminary pre-flight procedure. By convention, the captain will usually perform this procedure if the FO is doing the walk-around. And he's out for the walk-around. If you want the FO to perform this procedure instead of you, select the associated FS2Crew config option. We're not going to do that. We're going to do it ourselves. So we need to recycle the IRSs. So we need to turn them off, and they need to be off for 30 seconds. Okay, and I'm guessing that's so that those align lights will go out. So while that's happening, we can take care of the flight recorder test. There it is, done and done. Voice recorder switches normal, service interphone switch off. That's good. Engine panel set. Mach overspeed test. We never did the stall warning test last time, did we? But we're doing it this time. And those align lights don't want to go off, do they? Set the parking brake. It should already be set, but let's double check. Yep, it's already set, so we're good on that. And then get the ATIS. So let's go ahead and grab that real quick. Pull up our active sky here. So here's our departure. You can see right now the wind is 234 degrees magnetic. Let me Whoop, wrong one there. Dirt. I need to cross out the old one. So it's 234 degrees at 20 knots. Good night. And it's 2985 on the altimeter. So 2985 on the altimeters. And then just a peek at what we're going to be looking at KSTL. It's 212 right now. I already had it written down, but 212 and 3005. So that's likely to change. So we're not going to write that down right now. We just wanted to take a look at what we're looking at. And you can also, actually, now that I think about it, I'm an hour ahead here. Well, it's the same. So, and then you can look at the forecast too. So it's an hour flight for us. It's going to take us a little longer than that, obviously. So an hour out, it's going to be the same. 2 hours out, it's projected to be the same. It doesn't mean it will be. It's just projected to be. So just something to keep in mind. So we can shrink that down, and that takes care of our ATIS. The FO went into his walk around a little early because he didn't have to do the power up stuff. So we're waiting for him to come back. Let's see. So we need to do the CDU pre-flight. And I've already gone ahead and put fuel in here. Now our fuel for this flight is 14,170 pounds, but I knew I was going to leave it running for a little while, so I actually added a little extra. So if you go in here, FS Actions, fuel, so we're at 15,114 now. And I just did that because I knew I was going to take a break for a few minutes, and I didn't want to shut everything down. So on to the FMC then, and to our initial reference page, and actually what we need to do to kick this off. These have been off for more than 30 seconds now, so we'll flip them over to nav. Give them a second, and they'll start their alignment here shortly. There we go. It says align, and then they should start blinking, and then we can jump right into aligning the IRS within the CDU, which really doesn't take any time. Let's see. We're going to be I'm just kind of doing some things that need to be done. I know I'm jumping out of order here, but I got to wait a second for those anyway. So let's put this up to flight level 320. Chew, wow, you just got a sneeze right in your face that snuck up on me. Woo, that was a rough one. Flight level 320. Oh my goodness, there we go. Flip on the flight directors again. I know that I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but that's okay. Now we can enter the IRS position. So let's go to that, and then we'll come back to that at the appropriate time. So clear that off. Let me pop this up so that I don't have to move the speed brake lever. So there's that. Next page, grab one of these. We've done this hundreds of times now, it seems like. There we go, and that aligns them and straight to the route page. And let me pop this back up over here. Any day it wants to pop back up. There we go. I don't know why it did that. And then the company route is KMDW to KSTL, obviously. If I can find the letters. And then 01 is the designator. Somebody made a note on the PMDG MD11 tutorial that you have to put that number after there when you use PFPX. Yeah, I was aware of that. Thank you for putting the comment in there. I do appreciate it. It's fine. I have it in the wrong folder, I think was the issue, or something like that. But anyway. Okay, so flight number is 310. I just wanted to comment on that real quick. That was all. Moving on. Flight number is 310. Activate that bad boy. Execute. There we go. And then right to performance initialization. 0 fuel weight. Click it twice. There we go. Reserves are going to be 6,000 again. We'll probably be a good bit over that with the extra little bit of fuel I put in there. Cost index 85. And our flight level is flight 320. There we go. Execute that, and then on to our N1 limit. We can derate on this one. What is our runway length here? We're taking the same runway we departed on, and that was 22 left, and that was wait, was that right? Yeah, 22 left. Did I give the wrong runway length in there or something? No, I gave it in meters, right? Oh, I'm losing my mind here. Anyway, runway 22 left has got plenty of distance on it, so we'll go ahead and do our derate on that. We'll do a normal climb, however. And then takeoff will be flaps 5. Center of gravity, click it once and twice, and it gives us 5.24. And we know we're going to need to change that.
The security and safety check are complete. Can we start boarding now?
Yes, please.
Thanks.
Okay, so she's boarding the passengers now. Fantastic. We're at 4.93. We need to be at 5.24. A little far there. Come on. It's a little fickle, isn't it? 1925. Close enough. That's going to work for us. Okay. And then let's go ahead and let's take care of our departure and arrival. So we're actually departing straight out of KMDW. We're going to go direct to ORD, VOR. But we're going to be using runway 22 left again. So let's make sure we get that in here. 22 left. There she is. We're not using a SID, so we're going to go on that, execute it. And then if we go to our legs page, straight to ORD, JOT, PMDG, and then SPI, and then that takes us to our...
From the walk around, everything looks good.
Okay, fantastic. And then our arrival is the Vandalia 8 arrival. And of course, we'll get all of those briefed when the time comes. But let's put that in now so that we've got the waypoints in there. And I have a feeling which runway it's going to be. Well, see, here's the issue. Which runway is it, right? So when we looked at our weather, it was 212 at 8. So we're probably going to be runway 24. So Vandalia 8, runway 24 is what we're going to take. And we'll set up for the ILS 24. And if we have to change it, we will. Transition will be at SPI. And then on the approach, transition at Zucco. So it goes quiet because I'm clicking to the other screen. There's supposedly a way you can make it not do that, but I've never been able to get it to work. So execute that. Back to our legs page, and that's everything, right? Out to Lich, muzzle, toy, then vectors from there, then Zucco. We'll probably get rid of the vectors. We'll see what it looks like when the time comes. And then on into the runway from there, and we're good to go. And of course, it has our missed approach procedures. So that takes care of our initialization of the FMC/CDU. We've already taken care of the ATIS. He's done with his walk around. They're already loading packs. Let's see. So what comes next? Got to flip the pages upside down here so I don't accidentally grab the wrong one. Okay, so now we're into pre-flight procedure. I just want to make sure I didn't miss a command here or anything. It doesn't look like it. He should be doing his pre-flight procedure. He is. So for us, master lights test needs to be taken care of. That's this one right here. And you can see all the lights come on. There we go. And then the dim lights test, which is the same switch, just left click it down, all the lights dim up a little bit. And you can see they get a little brighter when you turn it back off. IFAS control panel, we're set to barrel. We're set on that, so that's good to go. Set for local altimeter setting. And it should be, what did we say it was? 29 or 85. There's packs coming on board. Let's scroll that down to 8.5. That's 8.4. There we go. 29 or 8.5. We're good on that. We don't need the VOR switches. We could go ahead and put our... oh, come on. My brain does not want to function well here, does it? What is the frequency for... I'm actually grabbing my flight plan here. So we're going direct to ORD. That's what it's got us going to. So it's 113.90. So we want to... Let's go ahead and program that in. There's no reason not to. So 113.90. That's down here. 113 is already on there. Take it up to 90. And put it on the active there. And then we can go on here and we can right click for VOR1. And that'll give us information on that when the time comes. Okay. We need to set course. Flight directors need to come on. We already did that. We've set our altitude. What was our V2 speed? We didn't do it yet, did we? Because I didn't finish. Takeoff page. There we go. V1, rotate, and V2. So 143 on the V2. There we go. Oxygen needs to be tested and set. Come on. That's like a very tight spot. And I think you push that button. Correct me if I'm wrong. Flight and standby instruments checked. We're good on those. Parking brakes set. It is. Nav radios, we just set those. Audio control panel, we don't need to do anything with that. Trim checks, they're free. We're not set to 0. We're set for takeoff. And verify flight plan. We've done all of that. The FO has made sure that let's just double check his work here real quick. The yaw damper is on. It is. Nav and display panel is set. That's down below. Fuel panel, electrical panel, fire detection test. I don't think he had to do them again. Emergency exit lights are armed. Window heat is on. That's all of these up here. Probe heat is off. So he's done everything he's supposed to do. I don't have to go through all of it. I just wanted to double check, make sure he did it. And that means that we can roll into our pre-flight checklist. So let's do that. Pre-flight checklist, please.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation transfer and display switches. Normal, auto. Window heat, on. Pressurization mode selector, auto. Flight instruments,
Heading 135, altimeter 2985. Set and checked.
parking brake,
Set.
engine start levers,
Cut off.
pre-flight checklist complete.
So for whatever reason, when I do the altimeter, I just always, I guess I'm not saying it right or whatever, so he never seems to hear me. So I think I'm just going to start saying set and checked on that. So that takes care of our pre-flight checklist. There's actually nothing else for us to do. We're at 14 minutes right now. We might have done that just a little early. At 10 minutes is when we would get our airway clearance. Obviously, we're not doing that. We're not using ATC today. At 9 minutes, we run the departure brief. So let's take a minute and let's show you how to make sure that's set up. So here's our departure. Okay, we can change these things. We're pushing back from a gate, not from a stand. So we click on that, gate push back, we're good to go. ASDEX, I'm actually not sure what that is. I'm going to have to look in the manual. I imagine I should know what it is, but I don't. So takeoff thrust is rated. It's D-rated. D-rated takeoff thrust. So assumed temp, RTD with assumed temp, D-rated with assumed temp, rated. We're just doing D-rated. Flaps are going to be 5. E-tops, we don't need to worry about that because we're not crossing water. Let's see, bleeds, we'll have the bleeds on. Anti-ice is not required. Takeoff safety, same crew. Crew change, same crew. So we'll leave it on same crew because it's going to be the same for us. Forced return would be either underweight or overweight. So we're definitely not going to be over our max landing weight if we have a forced return. Departure procedure is not a SID. It's not vectors, it's not tracking, but it doesn't really give us an option. So we'll leave it as a SID. Then that'll make it easier because if it's vectors, he's probably going to expect us to do other stuff. NADP, he'll probably tell us what that is. That's noise abatement procedures. There are none here. And then concerns. So are there birds? Is there terrain? Is there weather? Is there weather and terrain? Is there wind shear? None. Now, the wind's at 20 knots. Okay, remember that. Let's pop that back up here. So here's our departure, 20 knots. Is there, now it's 20 knots gusting to 30, even though it doesn't show the gusting on here. So that means there's a potential for wind shear, right? So we could either go with weather or we could go with wind shear. I'm more concerned about wind shear because there's not a lot of rain clouds or anything like that. So I'm actually more concerned about wind shear with the gusting wind. So I definitely want to have that in my briefing. Okay, and so we're going to play that briefing at 9 minutes, right? So if you look on here, it actually shows you, so if you go to pre-flight, it tells us 11 minutes, right? But I can have this page up and it shows me right here plus 11. So when this gets down to 9 minutes, that's when we're going to take care of our departure briefing because we don't want to be too far ahead of them. I'm starting to feel the flow a little bit with this. So that's good. That should be helping us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the video run in case something comes up, but otherwise I'll just cut it out like I've been doing. And when we get to 9 minutes, I'll go ahead and play that departure briefing.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be a standard pushback and start off from the gate. Taxi route will be assigned by ATC. It'll be a left seat takeoff using D-rated thrust. Planning a FS 5 takeoff. Anti-ice will be off. Standard reject actions to V1 as briefed. From V1, or if the calls continue, I will continue the takeoff as per the standard company procedures. The engine out procedure today is per the chart. We are under our maximum landing weight, so we are okay to make an immediate return. All going well, the departure routing will be via the ATC assigned SID, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. No noise abatement procedures required. Flight directors are on, mine is master, yours is slave. Navigation radios are set. The NOTAMs and aircraft defect log have been reviewed. Wind shear has been reported. We will execute the wind shear escape maneuver if required. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Not today.
Departure brief complete.
All right, quick and simple on that. So we're good to go there. I can shrink that thing down. So we got a couple more minutes yet. We should receive the load sheet. We're not going to be making any changes once we get it, but they're going to bring it to us anyway when we hit the 7-minute mark. And then APU's already running, obviously. Okay, you can see she's up here and running, so we're good on that. We won't need him to start the APU or anything like that. So there's really nothing else for us to do at the moment. We're just going to stand by. Now when the load sheet shows up, I'll be sure to thank him for bringing it. And then once we hit the 5-minute mark, we've got a little more to do.
Here's the load sheet for you.
Okay, thanks. I really have to remember to unmute it when I want to talk to him. Okay, so same thing. We got a couple minutes, and then we'll run into the update of the FMC if required. It's not required, obviously. We're going to be good to go on all of that. We'll have a few things to do up until then. So what I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna just let the video run, and then I'll cut out whatever's just useless space. We'll call it that, useless space. All right, so we've definitely reached the 5-minute mark here. A couple things we need to do now. We could have done this stuff a little sooner. It's not a big deal. I'm just trying to keep with the timeline for now, but we want to make sure the auto throttle is armed. We want to make sure that V2 is set on the MCP, and then arm the LNAV and the VNAV. And of course, the LNAV isn't going to arm right now. You can see right here we're making an immediate right turn on departure, and then out to ORD. Now we could get rid of that and put JOT in there. In fact, I kind of like that. It seems kind of silly to go to ORD, doesn't it? So let's just overwrite it there. There we go, straight ahead, and that might even let us arm the LNAV now. We'll find out here in a second. Let's shrink that down. Yeah, it's still not going to let us arm it. That's all right. We've dealt with this many times. There's various reasons for it, but it is what it is, not a problem. So we want to be on our takeoff page, however, so there we go. That's where we're going to need to be set up. And at 3 minutes, which we're almost there, they're going to close the cargo doors. And then the flight attendant is going to notify us that the cabin's ready and ask us if she wants us to close the cockpit door when we hit the 1-minute mark. So once again, I'm just going to be quiet here unless something pops up. And you'll hear me talking again after the flight attendant comes in.
Hi, the passengers are seated.
Thanks. It will be a short taxi.
Thanks.
Before start procedure.
Check.
We need to make sure that we've got the takeoff page on here, which we do. Flight deck windows taken care of. We've got our clearance. Takeoff trims are good. He's finished his before start procedure. We're actually waiting on GSX now, but he made sure flight deck doors closed and locked. Legs page on his CDU, which you can see over here. Exterior doors, he verified that those were closed. Flight deck windows locked. Fuel panel set, hydraulic panel set, anti-collision light on, and lower DU to engine, which is this one here. So he's done all of that. We're actually ready for the before start checklist. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that. Actually, I want to wait till he's done talking and starts pushing us, because I don't want something he says to be heard on my microphone and for the FO to think that means something else and then jump ahead, right? That would be a pain. Before start checklist, please.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. MCP.
Set and checked.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 135, V2 136. Set and checked.
Pre-flight. Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
I messed that up. I always mess that up. Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting 2.
So I always go V1, V2, and then V rotate for some reason, and that's the wrong order. It's V1, VR, then V2. So because I messed that up and then I tried to say set and checked, he jumped ahead. So it was the CDU pre-flight that was completed. Anyway, my bad, I messed it up. So we're looking for 25 on the N2 down here. There's 23 right there. 4 and 5. Go ahead and introduce fuel. He'll let us know when the engine start switch cuts out. And then we'll go ahead and take care of starting engine number 1. Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
We now request your full attention
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
Flight controls check.
Ready.
Full left. Center.
Check.
Full right. Center.
Check.
Full up. Full down. Center.
Check.
Full left. Center.
Check.
Full right. Center.
Check.
Flight controls check complete. Now he'll do his last couple of things here. We are ready to go on our stuff. So, before taxi checklist, please.
Before taxi checklist, generators off. Probe heat off. Anti-ice off. Isolation valve auto. Engine start switches continuous. Recall.
Checked. Why are we having an electric problem here? Checked.
Checked. Auto brake, RTO, engine start levers,
Idle detent.
flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment,
Clear.
clear. Before taxi checklist complete.
Okay, so for whatever reason, he didn't flip on the number 1 gen. Not sure why. So that was kind of interesting. But we're getting ready to taxi out here, and then when we do, let's see, what else is he supposed to do? What did he miss? Because I just saw the probe heat was off too. When does he turn probe heat on? He was supposed to turn probe heat on already. See, he's not doing everything he's supposed to do for some reason. I don't know if I jumped ahead of him somehow. That's possible. He could be going a little slow for me. Let's make sure probe heat is on there. Those are good. Those are good. That's good. Yeah, it looks like everything else is good. For whatever reason, though, he didn't do the probe heat. So I probably jumped ahead of him. That's probably what happened. I actually clicked on the little arrow here to move it to the flaps thing so that he would set the flaps. So he was just being a little slow on his before taxi procedure as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, we're getting ready to taxi out here. As we do, we'll go ahead and take care of that taxi and departure briefing as always, and then once we get lined up or get short of the runway there, we'll take care of business. So track IR is coming on. Little jump here. Little crooked on my track IR hat there. Brakes off. Let's go ahead and start taxiing out, and let's take care of that taxi and departure briefing. Alright, so we're going to be departing on the same runway we came in on, runway 13 left, which is going to make this taxi a bit of a pain. We're over here at the terminal, so when we push back, we're going to scoot on down Tango, it looks like here, over to Papa, cross over 4 right to 22 left, continue on Papa, and then cross over 4 left and 22 right, and that'll take us up to November. Then from November, we'll take that all the way down, and then we got to cross over runway 13 left, 31 right, swing back up and around to hold short right here on Mike, short of runway 13 left. Bit of a pain there, a lot going on, but I think we'll get there. We'll try not to make too big of a mess of things. Ground control is our main concern here. That's going to be on 121.650, and ATIS is on 132.750. Let's take a look at, actually we're not going to be taking a look at our departure briefing because there is no departure. We're going to just go direct to the VOR and then on course from there. So pretty straightforward, easy days as far as that is concerned. So there you have it. Let's go do it. Before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist, flaps,
Flaps 5, green light.
stabilizer trim.
5.2 units.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Before takeoff procedure,
Check. Cabin crew, take your seats. Ready to go.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Take off.
Check.
N1 toga.
Check. Thrust sent.
Check.
80 knots.
Check.
V1.
Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up. Engage LNAV.
LNAV.
Gear up.
Alright, we got the autopilot on now. I've muted that so that he doesn't hear me. Let me turn track IR off. Little jump here. There we go. Okay, so we're obviously up in the air and starting our climb now. We didn't need to reject the takeoff, thankfully. We've got our LNAV, VNAV going. Working on the flaps. Let me take care of that real quick. Flaps 1. Flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
Flaps up.
Flaps up.
Okay, so he's taking care of his procedures, and okay, well, we're letting him do that. I think it just told him to do something. Anyway, he's doing it right now. Let him finish that up real quick, and after takeoff checklist, please.
After takeoff checklist. Engine bleeds. On. Packs. Auto. Landing gear. Up and off. Flaps. Up. No lights. After takeoff checklist complete.
Okay, so he does that whole thing himself. He's going to ask me if I want to release the cabin crew here shortly, and we'll take care of that.
Happy to release the cabin crew.
Okay,
Check.
so he's good on that. We've got the autopilot going. And then once we clear 10,000 feet, which will be shortly here, he will turn off landing lights, all that stuff, and shortly after that, he'll ask if it's okay to release the passengers. That means turn the fasten seatbelt sign and stuff off. We'll let him do that, and then that's going to take care of everything up until we get to our descent procedure. I've got him muted at the moment so that I don't accidentally tell him to do something I don't want him to do. You can do stuff with the FMC in flight and ask him to confirm it.
Passing 10,000 feet, Captain.
Give him a second here.
Want to release the cabin now?
Go for it.
Check.
Alright, so then there's nothing else to do with him until we get to the descent procedure, which obviously I muted it so that he doesn't hear me say that. You can talk to the flight attendant in flight and all that stuff, but we're not going to be messing with any of that. So a little bit different format, doing it with the FS2Crew, but I hope that you guys are enjoying it. I know that I'm starting to feel the flow a little bit, so I'm definitely enjoying it. But that means right now nothing left to do except take care of some of that obligatory elevator music.
In the chill of dawn, we tried his secrets as our shadows watched. You erased my transparencies. You made me feel alive again. And now I'm trying to recall why I wait here in the rain for. I'm trying to
pushing up towards our cruise altitude here. You can see we haven't quite made it to the top of climb yet, but we have work to do and not a lot of time to do it in. So let's start setting up for the descent. Oh, I gotta unmute it before I say that. Let's start setting up for the descent.
Check.
So he's doing his thing as we would expect him to do. We need to set the minimums. For us, it's going to be barometric and 200 feet. It was already set, so we're good to go on that. Let's see, what else? We want to verify that the transition altitude is correct, which it shouldn't have changed. But if we go to the descent and then forecast page, there it is. Transition level is flight level 180, so we're good to go on that. We've already put in our arrival, so we're good to go there. What else we got to do? And then perform the approach briefing. So he should be just about done. Yeah, so it looks like he's ready for the descent checklist, which comes after the approach brief. So let's go ahead and take care of the FS2Crew approach brief.
Are you ready for the approach brief?
Okay.
The arrival routing will be via the ATC assigned star. Complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. For an ILS approach, plane 88 flaps 30 to 80. VREP is 143. Final approach fixed altitude is 3500 feet. Decision altitude is 200 feet. Missed approach altitude is 3000 feet. Taxi route in will be assigned by ATC. We'll be arriving at a gate. We'll use the APU, but please delay the start until my command as we have a long taxi. Descent speeds and navigation radios are set. Airport notes have been reviewed. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Not today.
Approach brief complete.
Alright, so that takes care of FS2Crew's approach brief. Obviously, we'll have an additional approach briefing, which will cover the approach plate. It'd be kind of cool if there was a way for them to work that in there, like if you knew which approach you were on. But I don't know, I imagine with the number of approaches out there, that would be a lot of data that would have to be stored inside FS2Crew's, I don't know, what their file system or whatever, and I just don't think that's feasible. So we're always going to have two of the briefs so that we can make sure we cover that approach plate as well, because, hey, that's what we do here on the Captain Mac channel, right? So all of that being said, you can see we got a little ways to go. We're supposed to start that 150 nautical miles out. Why is that thing? Turn that off. Turn. There we go. And we started it later than that, but we're done already. So I'm going to try not to mess it up this time, and I won't start the descent checklist until after we're descending. We'll go through the descent checklist really quick, and then we'll take care of briefing our approach plate, and then that'll take us up to the approach and landing phase of this flight. Alright, as you can see, we're about to actually start our descent here, and we're going to take care of the descent checklist. I popped on just a minute early because I just realized that I'm just playing back a couple of these video clips. The sound sucks. And I actually paused this for a little bit, trying to figure out why. I figured out why the sound sucks, but not why it's happening. So here's the problem. Right now, Shadowplay is not recording in-game sounds. The only reason you're hearing the engines at all is because I've got the speakers turned up so loud that you're actually hearing it through the microphone that I have on my head. To make matters worse, that's causing an echo with the, the FS2Crew guy, because it seems to be recording the in-game sound with him. I really can't figure out what's going on with that. It's ridiculous. I should actually be able to completely turn my speakers off, and you should be able to hear in-game sounds anyway. I don't know why it's not recording in-game sounds. So I'm going to update the driver after this flight, but unfortunately I'm not going to redo this flight again, so you're kind of stuck with a crappy sound on this. So for that I apologize. But if anybody knows why it wouldn't be recording the in-game sounds, please let me know, because when you go into the new version of Shadowplay, which, as I've mentioned many times, is crap, you can't find a setting for making sure that it's recording in-game sounds. Used to be a setting on there. You checked a box to record in-game sounds. That's gone. So I don't know what the heck's going on with it, but it's screwing with my sound and it's starting to annoy me. So my apologies for the crappy sound, but there you have it. Let's go ahead and let's take care of this. Descent checklist, please. Descent checklist, please.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 6 feet. update on?
Set and checked.
Approach briefing.
Completed.
Descent checklist complete.
And I think I just realized I never even had. Did I tell him to get set up for the descent? I think I did. Ugh. I'm confused now. Yeah, he said it. Okay, so that's good. So we're going to go on that. There's nothing else to do until we get to the approach. So let's go ahead and let's take a couple of minutes here, and let me just click on that. Thanks for the mute. Let's go ahead. Is that the right one? Yeah. Let's go ahead and let's take care of our approach briefing. I'm all kinds of messed up now because of the messed up sound. Approach briefing, please. So we're going to be looking at the ILS 24 approach into St. Louis today. Winds are kind of all over the place. Been a good time. So pretty straightforward though. Initial approach fix out here at Zucco at or above 5,000 feet. Take this, what are we looking at here? 243 degrees down to Mena. Continuing on the same heading to Zume here. And then on into the runway from there. Profile view, let's take a look here real quick. We've got 2,317 meters of runway to work with. Standard 3-degree glide slope with PAPI lights on the left-hand side. Pretty straightforward. 3,500 feet out here at Mena. Descending from there down to the runway or missed approach. For missed approach, we'll continue at 243 degrees until we climbing up to 3,000 feet. When we reach 3,000 feet, we'll make a right turn direct to the FTZ VOR. And maintain 3,000 feet. What does that look like? Basically straight out here until we reach 3,000, make a right turn direct to this VOR, and then we would hold there unless or until otherwise instructed by ATC. ILS frequency is 110.3, ATIS is on 125.025, tower on 120.050, and then ground once we get down there will be 121.900. There is your approach briefing. Alright, we're almost there. We're about to kick off the approach checklist and then go right into shooting the approach. We've already got our approach briefing, so we're good on all of that. Still a little frustrated about the whole sound issue. I do apologize. I'm trying to figure it out, see if nothing else. Maybe I can go to a previous version of Shadow Play. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I shouldn't have to update my driver to make something work that always worked before. Now all of a sudden it doesn't want to work. It's just like really random. But that must be why the sound was so crappy on my MD11 tutorial as well. So I do apologize for all of that. But hopefully we'll get it all figured out here pretty soon. We still do have a little bit, what are we, 20 miles out from, what is this, muzzle here. So I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to let it record away like I've been doing. Anything critical that comes up, you'll hear it. That way I don't have to start and stop the recording 100 times, and then I'll just trim out all of the useless nonsense.
Cabin crew, prepare for landing.
Approach checklist, please.
Altimeters.
3003 set.
3003 set. Approach checklist complete.
Flaps 5.
Flaps 5. Localizer alive.
Checked.
Glide slope alive.
Checked. Gear down, flaps 15.
Gear down. Flaps 15.
Gear down.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
Flaps 25.
Flaps 25.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 13. Final approach fix. Height checked. Missed approach altitude is not set.
Checked. Landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist. Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 30. Green light.
Landing checklist complete.
2500.
Cabin crew, take your seats.
Visual.
Check.
Cancel the barrels.
Check.
Cycle flight directors.
Recycling flight directors.
So I'm going to continue to let it do its thing for a minute here, and then I'll take off the autopilot and take control.
Check.
I have no idea what he's saying check for. Cleared.
Check.
Making sure he didn't move anything. Landing.
Check.
Winds are just a little squirrely.
Stable.
Check. Landing.
Check.
Those pappy lights don't work worth a damn, do they?
Checked.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Oh, floated a little.
Speed brake up. Reversers normal.
Check.
Check.
Alright. Let's get her off the runway up here.
Check.
Okay to clean up.
Check.
Had to mute it. That's a lot of checks in there. Alright, let's get it off the runway here. So you can see how I decided to do that. Instead of a lot of me talking to you guys on that one, I'm just editing it so that you don't have to sit there and stare at me doing nothing, but I don't have to start and stop recording and stuff like that. Now, I'm sure the sound's still crappy right now. Nothing I can do about that at the moment. We'll get that figured out here as soon as we can. Let's bring her around the corner here. Bring her to a complete stop. And let's make sure we got everything taken care of that we need to. Let me get her straightened up over here, though. Maybe. She's going slow. I don't want to add any more thrust because then I got to slam on the brakes to stop. And there's another aircraft behind us. I'm sure he's still back there, but... Okay, that'll do right there. Track IR coming off. Little jump here. Let's take a look at our list. There we go. Okay, we're good on all that. We already took care of the rollouts. I didn't hit the brakes, so it didn't disarm the auto brakes, but that's alright. So speed brake is down. Weather radar, we need to make sure that's off. I can come down here, click on that. He should have already done his after landing stuff. I'll have him start the APU here in a second. Probe heat switch and all that stuff he should have done. So we're clear to taxi in. So I'll have him start the APU. And then lights and doors. I'll do the same thing. I'll just leave the recording running. We'll do our thing. Track IR coming on. Little jump here. And here we go. Start the APU. Oh, I have it muted still because I'm an idiot. Start the APU.
Starting APU. 3 minutes.
I think that 3-minute call is just him saying we got 3 minutes of taxi to go. I don't know. I'll have to look that up in the manual and see if it tells me what that is, because it doesn't say it on my list here. Or maybe it does and I just haven't read it yet. Trying to read while taxiing. Lights and doors.
Check. Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross-check. Doors disarmed, APU on the bus.
Alright, track IR coming off here, a little jump. There we go. Let's get that parking brake on. Let's go ahead and shut the engines down. And let's see, taxi lights off, shutdown procedure, parking brake set, engine levers cut off, flight director's off. He should already be going through his shutdown procedure. He is. So he should be taking care of APU. There's the seatbelt sign, anti-collision lights, fuel pumps, engine start switches, anti-ice, electric hydraulic pumps, packs, isolation valve, APU bleed, lights, flight director, and reset timer. Once we think he's got all of that done, then we'll go into the shutdown checklist. So just looking up here, see what he's got going on. Looks like he's coming along pretty good. Now I can look over here and I can see he's still doing his shutdown procedure. Alright, when he's done, that should go away and it should click over to shutdown checklist and be in white, and that means we're good to go. There's an airplane landing. See, there it goes, shutdown checklist. So if I ask now, we should be good to go. So let's do that. Shutdown checklist, please.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps, off. Probe heat, off. Hydraulic panel, set. Flaps.
Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers,
Cut off.
weather radar,
Off.
off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Okay, now we can, if we want, we can listen to the PAX deboarding here. There they go. They're all offloading there. And there we have it. We're done with this flight. Actually, we're done with this video for the day. Just the 2 flights for today. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to consider it a long layover. We'll go from a cold and dark for the next 2 flights because I don't actually have time to record them at the moment anyway. But we're not going to go through the securing the aircraft checklist because normally we will do this as a quick turn. The only reason I'm doing it the other way is because, like I said, I don't have enough time to record the next 2 flights right now. So we're going to let them go ahead and continue with their offloading. We're not going to secure the aircraft from here. That's going to wrap it up for this video, not for these flights. So we still have 2 more flights to complete this duty day. So I just want to take a minute. Thank you all once again for joining me. I do apologize sincerely for the ridiculousness with the sound. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to work to try and get it figured out so that we can hopefully not have to deal with that issue anymore. Tomorrow I won't have a chance to record the next 2 flights either because tomorrow I'm going to be recording the first episode in the series of Ashley Learns to Fly, and I'm sure that some of you are very excited about that. It will be a little while before we release any episodes, but we're going to start her from 0 time in a little Cessna 172, and we're going to teach Ashley how to fly all the way up to culminating in a full flight for National Virtual Airlines with me as her first officer, and in the 747. So going to be a good time. We'll stretch that series out. It's going to take a little while. We'll see how we end up with it, but I certainly am going to be looking for your guys' feedback on it. So that wraps it up for this one, folks. If you haven't already done so, please smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to give a thumbs up on the video. The more likes and the more views the videos get, the easier they're found in the search, and that can in the YouTube search, and that'll certainly help me to get some more viewers and subscribers in here. So I do appreciate that, and I appreciate all of my subscribers. Thank you, every last one of you. Go ahead and hop on over to Facebook, like us on there, follow us on Twitter, and don't forget that you can follow us on Twitch now at Captain Mac 3588. We will be doing more live streams. It's just a matter of time, I promise you. And that's going to wrap it up for this one, folks. So until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all. Happy New Year, and have a fantastic day.